But still, at a very young age, it's important that that consciousness expand in a very positive way, in a very easy way. And so whether you're 4 years old or whether you're 100 years old, you can learn this technique of Bhavati Dhyan. Not just for adults, but we're hoping that in Nepal, you can be the first country where every student has consciousness-based education. That means access to total knowledge, total inner wakefulness.
Practicing Bhavati Dhyan transcendental meditation, we tap into the source of thought, and therefore we make thought very powerful and very clear.
We hope not just the school, we invite all community members. Let's make Dangadi a model community for all of Nepal. People always saying the Western Nepal is not so developed.
Chaitanya Namaskar and good afternoon to you all. Actually, Chaitanya Pathashala is the confluence of values, civilization and culture. It is located in the heart of Dangadi in Shivanagar. And this school is quite different from other types of schools because it not only focuses on curriculum-based education in classroom, but also focuses on the holistic development of the students here. So today in the morning, Chaitanya Pathashala and Maharishi Ayurvedic Kathmandu has made an agreement and signature on Vedic teaching in classroom to the students and teachers. So it is related to transcendental meditation. It means consciousness-based education. And it will focus on science and creative intelligence too. Actually today in the morning, some very distinguished guests from Kathmandu arrived in Chaitanya Pathashala. And right at the moment we are having a great company with them. I would like to introduce to you, he is Dr. Kingsley Brooks and she is Dr. Leslie Brooks. He is the director of International Maharishi Foundation, and we are having a short talk in the company of them. So, dear sir and madam, you are most welcome in Chaitanya Pathashala.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So how do you feel being in Chaitanya Pathashala for the first time?
Well, I have to say that we've had such a warm welcome, and the school, the whole mission of this school is really so wonderful, and it's so in line with the mission of Maharishi Foundation, Maharishi Vedic Foundation, which is based in Kathmandu. And so we're so happy to have a partnership to introduce consciousness-based education to your school, to this school.
Okay, is it the first visit in far western Nepal, or have you ever been before?
The farthest west I had been before this time was Nepalgunj.
Okay.
So this is the first visit to the far west.
All right.
I've been
First
to
time.
other parts of Nepal, but the first time to far west, and we're very excited to be here. And just such a wonderful area, and it really deserves more attention.
Right. So to be very specific, I would like to make a request to you to focus on the vision and mission of Maharishi Foundation.
Well, I think in terms of Maharishi Foundation Nepal Maharishi Vedic Foundation is its official name, is set up primarily to introduce all of the Vedic technologies of consciousness in all areas of society, and to propagate and to make available all of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's programs in the field of Vedic agriculture, Vedic education, which is consciousness-based education, all areas of Vedic knowledge. And the core of all of these technologies is transcendental meditation, which is a simple, very effortless mental technique that allows the mind to settle down and experience the source of thought, the quietest level of our own awareness, which is an infinite reservoir of energy and intelligence. And by having the human mind, the human physiology experience this field of life twice a day, every day, the individual improves in all areas of life. Mental potential, health, social behavior, and even the extended effect from many people practicing transcendental meditation is even the possibility of world peace, a more ideal society, really heaven on earth for mankind.
I see. So I'm very curious in this matter. As you talked about the consciousness in people, but very, very specifically, what changes will be there in smaller children who don't have any maturity or consciousness at the very small age?
No, that's a very good question. Thank you. No matter how old we are, whether you're newly born or whether you're 100 years old, you have inner intelligence, inner wakefulness, inner consciousness. And so as we get older, that consciousness expands. And so we become more mature or more educated. But still, at a very young age, it's important that that consciousness expand in a very positive way, in a very easy way. And so whether you're 4 years old or whether you're 100 years old, you can learn this technique of Bhavati Dhyan, transcending, going within. And it's important that these young children learn this technique because immediately they start to get more balanced nervous system. They do not take on stress. They start to make better decisions. Their mind becomes more clear. So we are hoping that not just for adults, but we're hoping that in Nepal you can be the first country where every student has consciousness-based education. That means access to total knowledge, total inner wakefulness. And the beauty of Nepal, why we think there's great hope, because this is really your tradition, your Vedic tradition. We're not talking about Hinduism or Buddhism or Jainism. We're not talking about religion or philosophy or some lifestyle or belief. We're talking
spiritual religion,
holistic development. We're really talking about a Vedic technology. And let me just add one more point. When I say technology, I mean technology in the true sense of the word, that you don't have to believe that it works. For example, if I take this glass and I drop it, I don't have to believe that it's going to fall because it's a fact, it's truth. It's a law of nature. Just like that, we all have within us this field of creative intelligence. And if you transcend, if you experience that, automatically you become more aware, more intelligent, more creative. So you don't have to even believe that it works. So a technology is something that is based on natural law. And that's why it always works. It will forever work. And that's why Veda means also eternal, forever, permanent, total, pure, original. So all of these things, we are so happy to be in Nepal, just as a reminder to all of you what you already know, your Vedic tradition. So we are so happy to work with all of you, and especially your school, which we feel can really be a shining star.
As you stated, the whole mission of the school is to incorporate ultra deep cultural values. See, so much modern education just focuses purely on gaining more and more information.
Good point.
And gaining information depends on the container of knowledge, the container, how much you can put into that container. And if you're not expanding the container of the knowledge, it can be very stressful to the individual to be trying to learn more and more and more information. With consciousness-based education, as well as gaining information, also focuses on the development of the knower, that which has to learn all of that information by expanding the container of knowledge, so that education becomes more effortless and easy. This is a very important aspect of consciousness-based education. It's not to replace normal education as we know it. It's an addition that focuses on the knower. unfolding the knower and the process of knowing. Those two elements have been left out in modern education, so we need to add that element, and that's what consciousness-based education is. It brings greater fulfillment to the teacher and greater fulfillment to the students.
Okay. So Chaitanya Pathashala has made agreement between Maharishi Foundation and the school. In your knowledge, how many schools in Nepal have made such agreements?
Well, there's been about 10 schools that we're working with. It represents almost 10,000 students, actually.
Okay.
And they're in different stages of the implementation of consciousness-based education. But we have great hope for this school because of the founding principles of this school are so much in line with enlivening the inner value of the student. And this is the key.
Yes.
Right.
It's the key because it makes the student strong from within. Information is useful. Learning about mathematics, language, social studies, science, math, all these things are good tools to have. But if the student isn't developing his awareness, his consciousness or her consciousness and awareness, then education can actually be stressful, and a strain. And you know, what actually restricts the conscious expansion of consciousness is stress. So we don't want education to sacrifice the growing of the consciousness of the individual, which can happen if it's overwhelming with just trying to put more and more information into a small container of knowledge.
Okay, one more question I would like to put to you. What are the ultimate obligations of human beings according to Maharishi?
Well, the obligation is to ourselves. The obligation is to grow and to, as Maharishi said, to be a contributor to a society, not a problem to society. That's really the role of education, to create enlightened individuals who don't create problems for themselves, for society, for the government, for anyone. They are there only to contribute and uplift society. And we can all do this just by developing ourselves. It's so simple. It's so easy. It's the easiest thing you'll ever do, is transcending, because it's so natural. And I think you want to add this point about government.
Well, the purpose of life, Maharishi says, is the expansion of happiness. And how do we expand happiness? We want to fulfill our desires, really. So what we need to give the student is a technique to fulfill their desires. And how do you fulfill your desires? You fulfill things through your action. Action, if it's successful, brings fulfillment. But how do you have successful action? The mind is what brings about successful action. And how do we have successful thinking? We have to have successful thinking, we have to have more consciousness. More of the base of the source of thinking. Has to be an infinite reservoir of energy, intelligence. So by practicing Bhakti, Dhyan, Transcendental Meditation, we tap into the source of thought. And therefore we make thought very powerful and very clear. And when that is done, then thinking is very clear, action is very clear, achievement is more, fulfillment is more, happiness comes in life. Very simple.
Wonderful.
We give a tool to fulfill the desires of the individuals. And also, we want the desires of the individual to also be supportive to the whole society. And spontaneously, when we think and act from the level of natural law, the field of consciousness within, we spontaneously do right action. Not because we sort of understand it, we're told, oh, you don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. We spontaneously act in accordance with natural law when we act from that quiet level of consciousness that's within everybody, but it just needs to be developed and expanded.
Wonderful. Madam, actually in Gita, Lord Krishna has said, 𝑬𝒅𝒖𝒄𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏. It means perform your actions,
Beautiful.
human beings, but don't hope for, fruit. How can we explain this slogan to ordinary people?
Yes, that's a very good point. It's important that while we're performing action, we're not attached to the fruits of action. That was what Krishna was saying. Don't worry about the fruits. Your awareness should be on the action, not its fruits. We can only control action alone. I don't know what the karma will be, what the reaction will be. That's his message. And that's why he said, Nistre gunya, O Bhavarjun.
Yeah.
Be without the three guna.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the relative. You worry about yourself. Bhavati Diyan. You just be established. Yoga sta karu karmani. Establish yourself in that field of natural law, in that field of cosmic intelligence. Then cosmic intelligence will be your charioteer, will guide you.
Brahma
That's-
Bhavati Sarati.
Yeah, Brahma Bhavati. That's the key.
You established in Brahman, the
Yeah.
field of consciousness within everyone, the field of Atma. Then all your actions, thoughts, actions, and achievements all be guided by natural law. And the emphasis in this sloka that you spoke is that you focus just on your action, not the fruits of the action, as Leslie said, because we have no control of what. But if we're always thinking about the fruits of the action, then our action becomes weaker, then our achievement becomes weaker.
Yeah.
So we focus on what we can control, and that's how our actions are.
Let's talk about final question.
Yeah.
Consciousness-based education. What are the effects of this consciousness-based education on our mind, spirits, and body?
Very good.
Well, as I mentioned, when we begin to experience that field of life, that is the fundamental field of life, we see improvements in 4 areas very dramatically, all at once. Mental potential. One becomes more creative, more energetic, clearer thinking, better organized, better moral reasoning, all these things spontaneously. Better health. Because even though TM, Bhavati Dhyan, is a mental technique, when we begin to experience quieter and quieter levels of the thinking process, as the mind settles down, correspondingly the body settles down. And the body experiences a state of deep relaxation, deeper even than during the deepest point of sleep. And in that deep rest, deep-rooted stresses have a chance to be released and normalized. And we know that 80% of disease comes from stress. It's psychosomatic diseases. 80% of diseases are psychosomatic. So by releasing stress through the practice of Bhavati Dhyan, our health becomes very better. And then also, when we have broader comprehension, we experience finer levels of the thinking, mind expands. And we have broader comprehension, so spontaneously our behavior, our social behavior improves. And because consciousness is a field, even though we individually practice transcendental meditation, Bhavati Dhyan, it spreads to the environment. Just like when you drop a pebble in a pond, it ripples go through the whole pond. When we create an influence of peace and harmony through the practice of transcendental meditation on an individual level, it has a collective effect on consciousness all over, because we are all consciousness ultimately. So we see these benefits in 4 areas of life from consciousness-based education being implemented. We see our individual students becoming more creative in intelligence. We see them having better health. We see them interacting with the other students and being much more appropriate behavior, very loving and kind behavior to the other students, and loving and kind behavior to their faculty, and mutually between the faculty and the students. And the whole creates such a beautiful atmosphere of loving nourishment, which we can even see how that radiates, not only within the school, but within the whole surrounding community. Many studies now that have been done on the sociological effects of transcendental meditation on the society, that when the square root of 1% of the population practices transcendental meditation, that the influence of peace, harmony, productivity, creativity goes to the whole environment. So even people who are not practicing transcendental meditation or implementing consciousness-based education actually have the benefit from that lighthouse of coherence from the school that they are radiating to their surrounding.
But they should also learn transcendental meditation.
Everyone should learn,
Wonderful.
so they have it for
Great.
themselves. But it happens on the field effect for everybody.
This is where the school can also take a leadership role. We hope not just the school, we invite all community members. Let's make Dangadi a model community for all of Nepal. People always saying the Western Nepal is not so developed, but all of the people here have beautiful brain, they have human nervous system. And you know, it's this human nervous system that has been given the ability to transcend. Dogs, cats, cows, they can't transcend. They don't have the sophisticated nervous system. So as human beings, we are the only sentient beings that have this ability to self-reflect, to experience the field of creativity, that source from where the Creator creates. It says in the Rig Veda, Prakritim swam avastabhya visvrajami puna puna. Curving back on myself, I create again and again. This is where everything comes from. So as humans, we have this great gift. No one else has this gift. So the Western Nepal just has the same beautiful gift as everyone. So they can develop even faster. I think there's more purity of life here, more connection to the cultural roots. So let's make this area really shining stars.
Great.
I think this can happen with your great leadership. Yeah.
So finally, Chaitanya Pathashala obliges to you both. You know, we are very, very grateful for your great company and to have a short conversation on religion, meditation, and holistic development of people.
Beautiful.
So thank you very much for coming here, giving us a great company.
Thank you. Through Vedic technologies,
Dhanyavad.
we can accomplish
Jai
anything.
Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Thank you for Nepal
Yeah.
and Western Nepal, particularly today, for maintaining this knowledge, this Vedic knowledge. It is the source from the Himalayas. Everyone knows this great, profound Vedic knowledge flows to the whole world. And so we need to protect the source. This is where it comes from, so the source needs to be pure and kept connected.
Very nice.
This is the way to connect.
Thank you for your great work.
Thank you for your great company once again. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Dari Dari Dhanyavad.